Hello, and welcome to the Pragmatic Live podcast series, where we tackle the biggest challenges facing today's product management, product marketing, and other market and data-driven professionals with some of the best minds in the industry. I am Rebecca Kalogeris, Vice President of Marketing at Pragmatic Institute and host for this episode. Today, I have one of my favorite people on. She's been a guest on here before, Georgina Cannie. She is the architect, the mastermind, the engineer, and the leader of the Pragmatic Alumni Community. And today, she's going to help us understand a little bit more what that community is about and the kind of experiences we can expect when we get there. So welcome, Georgina.
Thank you very much. And I must say, I think that is the best introduction I have ever received. So gold star for you and a little bit of a blush for me. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. It really is. So it's been a big couple of weeks for us at the Pragmatic Alumni Community, right? And
it has.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's been going on?
Yes, absolutely. So for many, many months now, we have been digging into the real wants and needs and desires and unique realities of Pragmatic alumni and trying to find out what is it that is needed in the market. What is the best way that we can support the folks that have perhaps already gone through training or people that are considering going through training? How do we make sure that they really have every tool available to them to implement all of the lessons and the methodologies that they learn in training? And through all of that research, we decided to introduce an alumni community space. And we've been working for many, many months to customize this and really tailor it specifically to our alumni's needs. And this week is the second week that we have members in there. So we're really excited that we are starting to open the doors very slowly. And we're really, really excited to open them all the way and accept more folks into that space.
So can you tell me a little bit about the people who are in there now? Because it is a small kind of elite group getting it warmed up. Talk a little bit about what you call the founders.
Yes. So the founders program is a pretty exclusive leadership role that we put out an application for. And so that is a group of less than 200 Pragmatic alumni members who applied to be part of the Founders Program and were accepted into that program. And so the founders are the very first people that come into the community. They are folks that were really looking for a leadership role. They wanted to be extra curious, extra active, extra helpful members of their network of peers. And they wanted to come into the community early. They wanted to help make sure that it was designed in the optimal way that was going to deliver as much value as possible to all of their peers and colleagues and networks. So there was a lot that we did on our side to set the community up for their arrival and future arrivals. But there was a lot of things in there as well that we left unfinished because we feel strongly that they should be created hand in hand with those members, with those founders. So now the founders are plugging into those places and really getting the chance to make their mark on the community, to craft it in a way that they feel is best. So they're in there now, just the founders, no other members. But once other members do join, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, those founders, their role is going to continue. They're going to stretch even further into their leadership positions and be, a North Star for the other members in helping make sure that other people get up to speed and feel really welcome and supported in the community. So the founders are an incredible group of people. They're really, really fantastic.
And I think it's both one of the most critical things you did in setting up this community, and I think it's indicative of your approach to the community overall. I think the founders help make sure that the community really is for the product people, by the product people, and not best guesses of what that wants, right? It's really letting them, your team is guiding them and helping them do it. But but making sure that it's a really authentic experience inside that community from the day one.
Yes, absolutely. Because, myself as well as my community team, we know a lot about setting up communities, but there's no one out there that knows more about, the day-to-day unique reality of a product person than that product person. So we want to make sure that we're not just, you know, taking notes from what the market is talking about. We want to make sure that it is really deeply part of our DNA and 100% incorporated in everything that we do. And even once the community is, nothing is ever perfect. It's never totally finished. But once the community is really, mostly set up, that doesn't mean that incorporation stops there. It's a really integral part of our community philosophy that, all of the calls, all of the groups, all of the resources that we deliver to this community, all of it is based on requests and needs from our members. We're never going to just dictate what we think they should have. Although, we make good suggestions for folks when pressed for them. But everything we do is always incredibly adaptive to requests and needs that come to us from members and founders.
So we're going to switch gears just a little bit because at this point now, you have been in communities your whole career. This is not the first community you set up. I hope it's your last. Because I get so much. But so you're very intimately aware with communities and what they can be. I've certainly learned a bunch throughout this process, but I think for myself before we did this, and certainly I think for a lot of our listeners, the idea of the community is a bit it's a bit hazy, right? It sounds great, but is it like, a Slack channel, or is it really going to be interesting, or is is it worth the time? Those kind of things. I think it's hard for those who've not been part of a community, or particularly part of a good community, to really picture how that experience can be and how helpful it can be. So I would love it if you just kind of helped make it a bit more tangible for us, and talking about like, okay, so if I join your community, Georgie, like what am I going to get out of it? How does it look like? What does it feel like?
That's a great question. And I'm happy to answer it a little bit. I think that communities are, it's definitely a show, don't tell kind of thing, because there is an emotional component. There's a camaraderie that happens. So the best way to really figure out what a community is all about, of course, is to join one. But there are some things that I'm excited to share that will help folks get a feel for what that might be like. I personally think that a really good community has a number of different components. So the lifeblood of any community are discussions. It's peer-to-peer conversation. So it's breaking down that hub and spoke model and introducing a really dynamic web of interconnected peers and conversations, ideas, lessons, and resources all together. So the way that happens best is in the discussion threads. Sometimes these are referred to as forums, and these are things that folks might have seen on other sites that are similar. So that's really where I think the most value happens. And the way that we have structured it inside the PAC is that all of our discussions happen inside groups, and groups are designed to be tribes of people that are interested in similar things. So maybe you are interested in talking to folks that are in the same industry as you. Maybe you work in the finance and insurance industry and you want to talk to other people that do too. Or perhaps those groups are, it would be better for you to talk to a group of people that are all working on the same key activity. Maybe you're about to launch your product and you want to talk to people that are also concerned with launching their product. So that's how we have set up groups inside the PAC, so that you can come in, you can join a group with your tribe of people that know exactly what you're going through. Maybe they're a couple steps ahead and they can lend you a hand based on what they've learned. And so those peer-to-peer interactions that are happening in those discussions and are organized based on the group are really, I think, the most vital, the most valuable part of the community. There are also resources in the community, and resources are structured a couple different ways. And I think that this is the ideal way to structure resources inside a community. So of course, that is how they have been implemented in the PAC. So you have some resources that are provided by Pragmatic. They're the tools, they're the templates that we're known for, that we provide at training. We're also making sure that we are listening to our members and our alumni and providing net new resources and content so that we're constantly improving your ability to implement the Pragmatic methodology. What we have done as well, though, is, there's so much content out there. I know that no matter what kind of resource I'm looking for, I know it exists. My trouble now is just finding it. And I spend a ton of time scrolling through Google search results, feeling a little bit frustrated, not knowing if the resources that I'm getting in that search are validated, not knowing if I can trust them. So one thing that we have done inside the PAC is we've curated that information. We've curated the best of the best resources so that when you come in and you look at it, you know that it's going to be helpful to you, and you're not going to have to sit there and qualify whether or not information can be trusted, because you know that it has gone through the curation process by our team, or you know that another member has used it, has developed it, has improved it, and has shared it back, right? You know that it's really worked for somebody. I would say that the third pillar of a really phenomenal community that kind of addresses everybody's needs where they currently are is making sure that you have events in the community, because lots of people learn in different ways. And so sometimes you absorb information best through reading resources or by chatting in the discussions with a peer. But sometimes you really just want to jump on the line. And especially in times like these, you want to get on a Zoom call and you want to see other people's faces and ask, dynamic live questions. So in the Pragmatic Alumni Community, we offer many, many, many member-exclusive events. We have a jam-packed editorial calendar every month, and it's full of all sorts of different kinds of events for members to tune into. We've got some events that are hosted by industry thought leaders and subject matter experts. We have some calls that are hosted by our own members, right? Because we really want to showcase what our fantastic alumni members are working on. We want to help give visibility to their exceptional work. And we also want to make sure that everybody has access to those case studies. What actually works for the people that have their hands in the dirt, right? People that are really, really doing it on the ground today. And we also have a couple of calls that are hosted by our community management team. And so oftentimes those are new member calls or pro tip calls. And those are times that our team walks members through ways they can be as successful as possible in the community. And that's just another way that we offer really finely tuned concierge service to all of our members. So I know that that's a lot of talking. I know that that's a lot of information. Obviously, you know that I feel very passionately about this, and this is a robust community ecosystem. This is much more than your standard Slack channel where things are kind of just rolling at you all over the place. This is a highly thoughtful and well-facilitated place that is, constantly thinking about how we can serve members best.
Well, you mentioned concierge. You mentioned a lot of the things, and I think one of the most exciting and the most impressive and most important parts of what you've built in the community, Georgie, is the culture of it. Can you talk a little bit about sort of what the culture you were aiming for, and then maybe we can even give some of the stuff that we did to help ensure that. But I think that it has such a great feeling. So tell me a little bit about what was the culture you were going for.
Yeah, so the culture that we were working on is, something we were thoughtful and intentional about. We want a place that is comfortable but also where business happens. We want a place that was human, but not silly, right? Something that would really help move the needle in a practical, tactical, relatable kind of way. So we, work hard to make sure that, our team is really transparent and really authentic. And so we do provide concierge service, but our members also know that the culture of the space is that we're all human. So it's not, community management is not the same as customer service, right? We are all in it together. We're working towards a shared goal and a shared purpose. And so the culture of the community is really focused on exchanging. What am I here to learn? But also, what do I have to give? How can I return this knowledge to people? And for me, I think that the guiding philosophy of the community culture is that when everybody puts in a little bit and everybody gets out a lot, that's really what the goal is, and that's what we're moving toward.
Yeah, and you can feel that right away. And I also love how bi-directional you've made it with intent, right? So
Yes.
from the first thing you do when you sign up is create your profile, and two of the questions that your team put together are, what do you want to learn and what can people learn from you? And I think that both way thing really does create an environment that feels very safe. And it's not a bunch of people talking at each other. It's a bunch of people with a place to talk with each other. And I think it's one of the things that makes it so very exciting.
I agree. And, we have, like you said, there are little things that we've done to kind of encourage and mold that culture in a way that is productive and comfortable for everybody. So, our key behaviors of the community are, we want you to ask questions. We want you to find your tribe of people, and we want you to exchange your insights, right? And that exchange is definitely something that you were touching on, Rebecca, that it is bi-directional. We're not working on a hub and spoke. We're a dynamic, interconnected community of professionals that are all working towards a common purpose. And so we do have, the questions on the profile page is definitely something that works towards that. We also have been really intentional about writing our community guidelines, which are really the rules of the road of what is expected of members in this space, and what standards members can hold their peers to in this space. So again, we're really transparent about it from the very start. Is, here's the things we stand by, here are the things we encourage, and on the flip side, here's the behavior that we discourage in this place.
Well, in those connections, you can already see those happening. You have a really excited group of founders who are all of the education space, and that sort of connection you can see really sparking interest. And I think we'll just see even more of that as we do start to let some more people in. Okay, so we've got founders and we've got our early access people, and of course, when people go in the community, they'll be able to see you and Rachel, who are the two like really, again, masterminds behind this community. What other groups of people might they find back there?
So we also have a group in the community called the Ambassadors, and they are a super elite group. There's less than 10 of them, of industry thought leaders and subject matter experts. These are the people at the cocktail party that have a line of people trying to talk to them. These are the people that walk around a room and you're like, oh man, your brain is just enormous. You are a very smart person. I'm dying to talk to you. And so there is this group, this really tight-knit group, exclusive network of PAC ambassadors. And they have a really important role to play in the community. They have signed up to really partner with our community team to help support our members. And they do that in a number of ways. Some of them focus on different topics. So we've got ambassadors that are really the champions of marketing analytics. We've got ambassadors that are hyper-focused on delivering agile resources. And they sometimes lead calls, sometimes they produce templates and ideas and worksheets for our members to use. We have one ambassador. We got so many groups in the community. We have one ambassador whose role I like to call the patron saint of unanswered questions, which is just fantastic because it really makes sure that if you come into this community and you ask us for help, there is somebody that is there that is going to support you no matter what. We're going to get that question answered.
So if people wanted to find more about this community, Georgina, where should they go?
They should go to pragmaticinstitute.com/community to check it out and learn a little bit more.
Awesome. Okay. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want people to remember or know most about the community?
That's a great question and a very challenging question for me because, as you can tell, I have a lot of thoughts about this. At its core, I think I would say that this community is for you and it's also by you. And we really believe that.
You're here. All right. Georgina is not the only one super passionate about this community. It is something we've been talking about building. It has been something you guys have been asking to build. It is something that has been built, in my view, even better than I could have pictured it, thanks to Georgina and Rachel's really hard work. And we are so excited for you guys to be able to come in. It's like you were decorating for this big party and you've got everything in place. And now you're like, I just can't wait for the guests to come. So we're excited to have you guys. We would love questions on it. We would love feedback when you're in there. Please feel free, again, visit pragmaticinstitute.com/community. You can also reach out to either Georgina or I. My address is out there. And I think there's also, is it community@pragmaticinstitute.com?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Georgina, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right. That does it for this episode of Pragmatic Live. Join us next week when we tackle another great topic designed to help you elevate your company, your product, and your career.